Welcome back, everybody. Mark slash Taryn here. Someday I might just use Mark, or I might just use Taryn, but we'll see. And today I actually want to talk to you guys about working with arrays. Arrays are a great way to store data, lots of information. We can loop through them. But today I'm going to talk about single dimension arrays and double dimension arrays. And we're going to talk about integer arrays and string arrays. And what we're going to do is we're going to build a couple of arrays based on game programming. Like I said, this is going to focus around programming for games. So as we get into the later lessons, we're actually going to build some smaller, like graphical type games. Um, I don't know if we'll get to the games right away, but we'll get to like loading sprites and moving things around the screen. And I'm always learning, so I figured I'd pass that information along to you guys. So when we work with arrays, we're talking about storing information. Computers start counting at 0. So, you can actually say, with our array that it could equal 0. So let's start doing our array so you can see what I mean. So when we dimension an array, we use the dim command. And this will be an integer array, so we'll just call it high score. And what we could do is we could say it has, we'll say 3 places. But it actually has 4 because computers start counting at 0. Now for clarity, I'm actually going to say 1, 2, 3. I'm not going to say 0, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to ignore that 0 part of the array, which seems to be common with Liberty Basic given a lot of the examples I've seen. But we could actually say, and let's go ahead and assign a value to our array. So we know it's a high score. And we could say the first position, which is 0. And we could say it equals, what does 0 equal? Let's say 25, right? Now watch this. So we can print out high score 0. And now let's go ahead and run this. And you can see it actually prints out 25. But you imagine doing an array of 25 items and you only see 0 through 24. So it's kind of unclear after a while. So what I like to do with arrays is I ignore the first one. I don't know if it's good practice or bad practice. It's just I do. It doesn't seem to have any effect on my coding. So what I'll do is let's go back up here to our first high score. I'm going to change that back to 1 and let's set the value of it to 100. Now we don't always know what we're going to set our array to. We might assign high scores if someone's playing our game, so these could all be set to 0 by default. All we would have to do is just say dim high score 3 and that's it. We could assign it later on somewhere else. But let's just go ahead and fill our array. Now right now I'm actually going to do it manually, but we could do it with a loop. We'll talk about loops later on, not in this lesson. I want to fill an array. That high score will equal 200. This high score equals 300. So I'm just going to do 3. This is an integer array. And let's print out our highest high score. 3. And we'll run this. And you guys can see that 300 is printed right to our screen. Pretty clear, right? Not too bad. I like to do some formatting things. We'll leave this array here. So let's go ahead and create a single dimension string array. So I'll throw in a quote here. Not a quote, a single quote, so I can do a comment. And we'll just say single dimension array. And so let's dimension our array, dim. This time we're going to say high scorer. And don't forget the $sign because it's a string array. Strings, and give this 3 as well. So let's go ahead and fill this array. So let's go ahead and say high score 1, and let's assign this bad. There we go. We'll have another high scorer. And let's say this is Sam. Sam's a cool out there kicking butt. High scorer. And let's say this one is Brian. Who doesn't love Brian? Likes Ark Survival Evolved. You remember Brian? But, you know, good old Brian. Alright, so there's our string array. And now let's do the same thing we did before. Let's go ahead and print a high scorer, $, and we can print any one of these. Let's say print number 3. Let's print Brian for the heck of it. We did it on the first one. Brian. Alright, so sorry if that was annoying. Just a little punchy. Been a long day. So we'll run this and we'll see 300 in Brian. So we can see that main output to our window. And we're going to actually do a double dimension array here in a second. The reason I want to show you guys arrays is because we're going to use them for drop down boxes. We're going to use them for lists. So as I go through, you know, programming and teaching about game programming and teaching about just programming in general, you know, we can use them for different things. I want to show some of the controls we can use. And I know it's going to be based around game programming, but maybe we want to have some settings on a screen later on. Let's set the window width, or you know, let's change some settings. You can do that with drop down boxes and selections, but I just want to show you guys this. And let's just talk about this double dimension array. So a double dimension array is basically, you know, right now an array is just a list. But think of an Excel spreadsheet. When you double dimension the array, you get 2 columns. So you have column, you know, 1, 2, 3, but now you have column 1, 1, 1, 2. So let's go ahead and let's do this. So if you're kind of following me, you might already know where I'm going. But let's just put our comment in here. So we'll call it a double dimension array. And once again, dimension the array pretty easy. And we're going to call this one high scores. Get the $sign. And basically what we're going to say is 3, 2. So it's going to be 3 rows with 2 columns. And what we can do is we can actually populate this array just like we did before. But let's go ahead and kind of marry the data up. So 1, 1 and 1, 2 are going to be the same high score. It's going to be the name of the high scorer, and it's going to be the high score. So we do this by doing high scores, and we'll say 1, 1. This is going to equal add high scores. This will be 1, 2. This will equal Mad's high score. Now this is going to have to be in quotes because this is a double dimension string array. It's going to only take string values. Now this is where we might use the conversions I showed earlier. We might take that integer and convert it to a string variable. Or we might take that integer and convert it to a string, you know, and excuse me, and we might need to go ahead and take that string and convert it back to integer. So just keep that in mind. This is where the convert comes in handy. We might have a high score of 10,000, but before we could populate our high scores array, we're going to have to convert it to a string so that we don't get a type mismatch error. So let's go ahead and finish populating this. So scores. Now we could say 2, 1. I hope I'm not talking too fast. If I am, please let me know in the comments and I'll try to slow it down. So this is Sam. High scores. Let's go ahead. That'll be 2, 2, 2. Then Sam, he only got a score of 200. He got a modest score. He was doing alright. He wasn't the best. He never played Space Invaders before. He was having a rough time. Or Dig Dug. Not to date myself at all. So 3-1 was Brian. Brian. And so Brian's in there, and then that in here, and then 3, 2. And Brian's rocking, man. Brian's getting 300 all the way. He got the highest score. And we could go ahead and let's print out Brian. Brian's got the high score, why not? So go back and print. So we'll say high, not height, high scores. And because we're printing out Brian, we want to actually print out 3. That would be his name. I want to print his name first. There's semicolon. Now we actually want to have a space in between the name. Remember I said formatting sometimes can be funky. If we were just to print out, high scores 3-1, high scores 3-2, they'd kind of be stuck together and wouldn't look that good. So let's put a space in between them. Now we'll print out high scores. 2, Brian's high score. And now we can actually run this. So I go ahead our program, and you can see, yeah, we printed out Brian high score, the integer array. We printed out Brian the string array. Now we printed out Brian 300, so we know what Brian's high score is. We might have high score on the screen, then we'll print out Brian 300, or Sam 200, Bad 100, whatever the high score is. So that's just the basics of working with arrays. They hold data for us. We can populate data. So you think about, maybe a telephone program. I know that's a reference a lot. We could store all our phone numbers in one array called telephone number. We might have another array of names. So, or we might have a double dimension array with names and telephone numbers. We'll have to convert the number to string. So hopefully that makes sense. If you liked the video, please hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for watching.